recording. So what we're going to discuss about is we'll be pushing a code from VSTS. Call this particular application simple WUT. It's a simple ASP.NET web app. Okay, and each and every developer would be pushing in this particular code into a VSTS account. Our VSTS account is this one, which we have created, the Azure guys cicd.visualstudio.com, and this is a project which is there. We have already checked in, and we can see the project, and our pushes would be shown up here in this particular pushes tab. What we're gonna do is, like, once the code is getting pushed into VSTS, we'll have a trigger, which actually the VSTS trigger, which will be integrated with our Jenkins Jenkins, which is installed on a Linux machine. Okay, and it is a page. We are accessing this particular Linux page using we are first SSH into this particular Linux VM, the Ubuntu VM on which this particular Jenkins is installed, and using the Jenkins admin credentials we are able to log in, or we are able to SSH into it. Once we are SSH into it, we are actually have access to this particular port 8080. We'll talk about how to enable them as well. And once we have that, we actually created a job. Okay, so whenever a VSTS code push triggers a call to Jenkins, so there would be a corresponding job to it, which would actually build your code. I mean, it will take your code from the VSTS, the branch which we are talking about. If you select a master, from master or other local branches, and then it would actually push your code into it will actually build your code and sustain your code in workspace, and then from workspace it will take out the last successful build, and it would push into the Azure Web App. This particular web app, you can see the test 10 is already deployed in, and this is a complete flow we are going to talk about today. So let's start with the VSTS project which we have. For it, what you need to do is, like, you need to create you need to go to the visualstudio.com and you need to register an account with visualstudio.com. So for your information, visualstudio.com is a sort of source control repo, which is a little bit more futuristic than what we have with the GitHub. So GitHub just hosts a code. Okay, it doesn't help you in it doesn't have any inbuilt deployment stuff. You need to have you need to integrate. If you want to push a code into your web app or something, you need to deploy it from external triggers from web app or from other sources. Okay, so GitHub being a public repo. Okay, and so when I talk about GitHub, GitHub is this one. There's a public repo, and there are local repos as well, which each and every enterprise companies have them. And so once we have our VSTS account get created, the Azure guy, the cicd.visualstudio.com, we can create a project. Once you have the project, you have the complete. You can have, you can create a project, and then or you can import a repository as well, or you can create a new repository. Okay, so if you have certain code in your GitHub, you actually can go and import that particular code as well. Okay, how you're gonna do is, like, you need to go to this particular clone or download button. You need to click this clone, and you just come to VSTS, and VSTS has a lot of adaptability with the GitHub. You can see this particular red icon, which is a Git repo icon, which is there here. Okay, it is sort of local Git repo. Okay, it's not in public, and this particular repo can be made as private rather than the GitHub which is there, which is a public. Okay, you can take this particular code and put into your own VSTS account, and you can make it private, and you can modify that particular changes, and now you can maintain that particular code. You can trigger builds and releases. You can have users assigned to it. You can create a task assigned to it. A lot of stuff work, or you can have load testing enabled onto it. You can have proper unit test case results showing up in this particular dashboards, and test runs you can have. You can have your own own Jenkins machine build machine or agents which can build this particular code as well. Okay, we want to talk about that. So simply we have our code. What we did is, like, once I got this particular project created, I just go and click clone. So when I was talking about importing a repo, yeah, it is such easy. Just go to import repo, and we have copied that Git repo clone, okay, from here. from the logo from the GitHub, and you're done. You just need to like, if since most of the Git repo are not password based, so there doesn't require any requires any authorization. So you can directly go and import this particular repo, and you can define what would be your repo type, whether it's a Git type or it would be a TFVC type. So according to that, it would your VSTS account would create a possible interesting files, or which is VSTS support, or the definition files or other configuration files which VSTS sort of pipeline supports, and Git build support. Okay, so that's how you import a repository, or you can go and create a new repository as well if you don't want to like with the repository which you have created. Okay, and you can create a new project at any moment of time, and you can create multiple branches as well. And if you have multiple developers or multiple teams are working, you can actually create multiple branches. For creating multiple branches, you just go and you have your code in master. So when you create a branch, your code would be need to be pushed in from either of at least one branch should exist from where your code can be pushed onto your other branches. So you have this one master branch, and you can have work items exactly defined on your branch, on this particular branch, like to whom you want to assign this particular work item or user story, or this particular branch to which particular developer teams across which continent or country you want to assign them. You can do that. You can create a branch and assign them as a work item, or give it as a user story. That's possible. So that's how you create a branch on VSTS. And VSTS have have a lot of interesting things, like it has an overview dashboard, and where you can actually put your have your agents which are there to build your code are working fine or not, or whatever the status of your work assignment, like what you assigned, like how much work you have assigned, and what other people are doing, and what's the backlog which is are there. And you can collaborate your code with multiple people as well. You can visualize their work items, work efforts which they are doing. And this is one sort of load testing which I have applied on top of this particular simple WA desktop .NET desktop app which I built. Okay, so you can see this particular everything result in a single dashboard, as you would be seeing in our dashboard as the same thing, like whatever you see in your an Azure dashboard. It's the same sort of stuff which had been brought up. Okay, so you can see a lot of different things, and okay, you can see a lot of different things, and what are the activity logs, what are the VMs you have created, and what is the load testing results, everything. Okay, the same thing, the dashboard concept which has been brought up here, okay, to display it very nicely. And you can build your own dashboard and customize your content. You can customize your content by just clicking here, and you can add more tabs. You can add the chart for build history, like how your builds are going on. I'll click add. So this is my build history. This is my build history which I've added already. That's why it has shown up. And I can configure this particular build history, chart for build history. I want to select this one where I'm targeting my builds. Let's see. So for right now, it says that there's no build exist. Desktop CI. So you can see there's one particular example where say desktop CI. This one particular has a successful build. Once you're done, you can click this, and you can click on this. You'll get the more history about your build build time and other stuff. Okay, and what we're gonna do is, like, you can see that this particular build was triggered. The code committed was this one, and the branch from which it was initiated was master branch, and the person who had requested this one is S, and the queue name is hosted VS 2007. So this is nothing but our build agent stuff. Okay, so what we are now interested in is, like, we want our project something called as okay, simple UT. Okay, and this, whenever this particular build triggers about this, there should be chart history with build chart history which should be displayed on my dashboard. Okay, for that what I do is, like, I have the existing this one. I'll just go and edit configure. Okay, and I'll just select my UTCI. I can save it. So when I run some builds, I'll get actually the history or how many builds have been succeeded or failed. Okay, if it is failed, it would be turned red. If it is passed, it would be it would be still green. Okay, so this is what a little about VSTS. You can invite a friend. Okay, like for a free version of VSTS, you have a limitation of 5 different basic users. Okay, and each and every users can be called up or invited to uh, invited to your particular project via that email ID. Okay, so it's not a compulsory that I mean, it would be great if they have the VSTS account. You will have more info gathered into your project. Okay, if not, also that's okay. Okay, it would create a Visual Studio profile for the newer guys who are not onboarded into VSTS as well. You can just give that particular. You need to add your. Let me add John 30. Of whatever domains, you can actually add anyone. Okay, you can just click save changes and that guy would get a save changes, and will be that's how like a new member or the member a new member in your developer team had joined, he can actually start contributing into this. Okay, and once you have that, like you have something called as the users tab as well, where you can actually manage this user. Let's go to my Visual Studio profile, the very home page of uh, I'll go to my Visual Studio profile. Okay, this is my Visual Studio profile. I'll just go to no, not this, the Azure guys CI/CD. Okay, I can go to my Visual Studio profile, easily navigate from here, my profile. Okay, and in my profile, okay, let me go directly, otherwise. So what I want to do is like I'll go to my work. I need to see my users, what are there, and the users are nothing but our team. Okay, and I want to. Okay, I'll go to my default team settings. Here I can see what are the users which were been added. Okay, and now I need to interested in setting up these users with access, like what define some policies like what they can do and what they can't. I'll go to my security tab. Possibly yes, I need to have a users here. Yes, security. After you click on the security, you get this particular users tab, and in this particular users tab you can assign like whether so Maddie I have assigned, so the basic would be it would assign up a basic access level. You can edit this particular access level, okay, in order to if you have your stakeholders or VSTN other subscribers, you can assign them as well. Okay, they can manage this particular code from their own VSTS account as well. Okay, they can fork it or they can clone your code into their VSTS account and start contributing there, and then the code would be pushed into your account. So you can have stakeholders as well, which who doesn't need to have a code level access. It's a basic level access. You can assign them. Okay, and like after you change them, you can send invitation as well. Okay, that's how things happen, and that's how you maintain a users on VSTS. Let's go to my project. So there's my project. Get back to it. I have a code tab. I can see all related to code, my branches, pull request, everything. Okay, the pull request is important in case where you have your master branch here. You can see, I'll just go to the code. You can check here, like I have a master branch. Okay, if people from other I have another branches as well, and the complete the master branch would be the branch from where your code would be pushed into your web app or into your production machines. Okay, in that cases, if you have your teams working from, I'll have Team Europe. Okay, I have a Team Europe who will be working on this, and just create a branch for them. So what it would do is like it would take up this particular code and put into the team branch. So in the team branch people, the users, if they have MSJ subscription, or at least they have a normal Visual Studio to run a code and deploy the code and check in their code into this particular Visual account, they can do that. So they can check in their code to this particular Team Europe. I'll be giving access to at this particular code level. Okay, I won't be giving access to at master level branch. Okay, so I'll have users here who can actually assign them like this Team Europe members. I'll be adding them for this particular branch check-ins, and they can check in the branch, and they can they can create a pull request whenever they can say that there's a new pull request, and they can check in this particular pull request, or once they put the code onto Team Europe, they can actually create an invitation stating that we want to push a code from Team Europe to our master branch. Okay, so the master branch is the main branch where we have a stable code, and from where that goes to QA and the production and everything else. Okay, so that's how a pull request would be changed. Since I don't have any changes here, that's why you don't see any changes in this particular pull request. So once a pull request is created, you can actually let me check. Let me try to do a change. You can actually do the changes, or you can read this particular files from here, and what I'll do is like I'll try to change certain file in here. Okay, and then I'll create a pull request so that you'll get a more idea on this what I'm talking about. So we have default.aspx page. Okay, I want to edit this particular page. Okay, so you can, without Visual Studio, you can actually, if there are minor changes and you want to push into your this is Team Europe branch. So you can commit it. So Team Europe commit. So if you want to make certain very minor changes, yeah, I mean it's not prescribed way of doing this. But when you do this particular request, you need to have a work item. Okay, without work item, I'll just commit it. Okay, once I commit, yeah, I can go and check whether like I'll be able to create a new pull request with the new changes from my local branch to to the master branch. Okay, and to whom you want to add this reviews is like I can add Maddie.John. It's currently on call gmail.com. Recognize because he's a member of the master branch. Okay, I can give him because they have a basic authentication as well, and I'll be the Azure guy 007@gmail.com. This guy is also having access, and myself. The person who had checked in the report is girish@hotmail.com. Okay, and he's also approval for this. Okay, I'll just create a pull request. Okay, the reviewer does not have permission. Okay, he doesn't have a basic permission. That's it, not able to do that. Okay, I'll just create a pull request. So my pull request has been created. Okay, so since I'm a Girish Calamity and I can see this particular pull request which is happening. Okay, so once I say that, I can actually add some certain comments, or I can see what is updates had happened, what this particular team had put on. Okay, what are the files they have modified. Okay, this is a file. That's great. This looks, since he had not added a work item, I'll mention please add work item next time. Okay, and I'll just click this particular. Okay, so that's how, like, whenever this particular comments would be would be seen by this particular the person who had created, okay, from Team Europe. And once he says that he addresses that particular comments, and since that is me itself, okay, he says that he'll take care from next time. He just replies onto it. Okay, that's okay. Then I'll just go and approve this. Suggestions I've already given, so I'll just approve. You can have more authors as well. Okay, you can approve any of the authors can actually this one do this particular approval, and I can click complete. So when I click delete Team Europe after merging, no, I don't want to change, delete Team Europe. Yes, complete merge, keep that Team Europe as it is. And once my merge actually, my merge key is completed, and I should be able to see my changes in my master as well. So the main change, the changes which had pushed from Team Europe branch was into the default.aspx page. So this is our default.aspx page, and I can see so Team Europe branch changes have been reflecting here. Okay, so that's what like how you can how you can create a pull request, and you can see file commits, pushes, everything. You can manage multiple repositories, everything. You can have your work, you can assign a work items to anyone, like you can create user story, you can set up sprints as well, or if you want to do a more of visual type or geo type of handling stuff, and you can create items like this. Okay, I can create any of the items like new items or task, everything in this particular sort of the complete sprint or the backlogs which are there, whether they are resolved, or you can create sort of bugs as well, everything. Okay, so okay, so that's a thing. And you can have test plans, everything. You can have for test machines also, you can have, which can actually run sort of load tests on top of your machine. Okay, for that you can have your test machines. Okay, you can have your physical machines on Azure. Okay, and then you can assign this code order to your local as well, and assign this particular machines to run your loads. You can add up, a summary of this particular project in your wiki, and what are the bugs or issues which are resolved, or which are open, or what are the enhancement, or what are the futuristic things which are going to come. Everything is in the wiki. You can mention them. Okay, so that's sort of it's completely different from GitHub what we have. So GitHub just has fine collection of codes. Okay, and that particular code can have, you can create branches in here as well. Okay, there's no problem. You can have multiple repositories. Okay, and you can share this particular code to multiple peoples, and you have marketplace as well, where you can actually integrate your GitHub code to other stuff. Okay, and you can have deploy this particular code by using the other plugins. Okay, so other plugins, what they do is, like if you have an Azure Web App or Azure function, then Azure function can make a call to GitHub stating that if you have any recent changes in the repo, then I'll take your code. So the GitHub responds back saying that, yeah, I have a recent changes. The last changes was this, and the recent changes was this. Do you have the last changes in your database or not? If not, if yes, then if not, then take that particular build as well, and this one, the newer one as well. Okay, that's how everything works with GitHub. Okay, and you can see that there are a lot of features which are there in VSTS rather than on GitHub. But most of the open source people, they prescribe GitHub. Okay, so that's why like GitHub has been integrated with VSTS very well right now. So we'll go back to a code, and our particular stuff which we are talking about, like we'll be pushing a code from a VSTS. So this particular code would be my 12th code. So in order to connect your Team Explorer to a VSTS account to your Visual Studio account, you need to click this particular icon. Okay, once you have this particular icon, you can actually manage connections. Okay, when you click manage connections, it will connect to your VSTS account. You need to give the VSTS credentials. Once you have that, you can have all your repos coming in, and it would show up here. Okay, and your branch, whatever check-ins you will do, it will reflect in your branch. Okay, I'll make my test 12 for testing VSTS and Jenkins pipeline. Okay, I'll just commit my code. Okay, since I have permission onto my master branch, so I'll pushing my change into the master branch directly. I'll mention this particular code as the change as the same thing, and I'll just click commit all and sync. Okay, so commit all would push your code, this particular code, into your local git master repo, which is being created in your local. Okay, it won't check into your master repo of which is existing in your VSTS account. Okay, so in GitHub, the thing is like that you will have a local master repo as well. Okay, so for every master repo or local branch which you create in VSTS, there would be a branches in local as well. Okay, and you can actually, when you commit all, it will push onto your local master. When you say that commit all and push, it would push into your the VSTS master account. It would push into here, this one. Okay, but think of a scenario like where other developer has also made a change in this particular line, and it can, it would, with this particular commit would just override his changes. So what we prefer is you can pull the code, and you can sync up the code. Okay, and push a code. So for that only you have commit all and sync. Okay, and what it would do is like it will actually pull the changes first, and then it would it will it will try to sync your changes. It had created your outgoing commit here, and it's syncing it's pulling your current branch. Okay, and it will check your that particular current branch doesn't have any conflict with this particular line number 7, which has been added by this particular user. Okay, so there were no pull completed with conflicts in the simple UT repository to resolve the conflicts. Yes, so this is a way. Like I have a team Euro teams which who had actually pushed up their changes in here, right? So this is a change which team Europe branch they have pushed in, but I have my changes which is a test 12, and this is a most update. But I didn't take this particular changes, and that's why it is showing this particular changes. Okay, what I'll do is uh, have I conflict. Okay, I'll keep that their particular code as it is, and what I'll do is like I'll put my code. VSTS or Jenkins. I'll just add my changes as well and put this as 12. Okay, so resolve the conflicts. Uh, the conflicts has been resolved. Okay, and I can go back, and I can try again. I can abort this. Yes, since I have resolved that particular conflict. When I do my next check-in, it should not be a problem. Okay, and okay, so this is a change which I have done, Team Europe had done. It is showing that particular commit. What I'll do is like I'll pull the change. Okay, it will take all of the incoming commits which are conflicts. Okay, this is a conflict. I'll just click merge. Okay, so we in using the merge we can actually put this code. Yes, I want the changes which are made by Team Europe as well, and I want my particular changes as well. Okay, I'll just click this one as well, so it will add just a line below it. Okay, once I have done, I'll just click accept merge. So that's how your both of the changes are are existing. So I'll just click commit merge. So committed merge, committed Team Europe changes as well with my changes. VSTS Jenkin. Okay, commit stage and sync. Okay, So it would again make a one more pull and check whether there are no changes had been done after this particular team Europe commits as well. And then you can see that both of my commits had went to into my VSTS account, and you can see that. So once I have my commit code which went into it, I have a trigger. Okay, and you can see this particular trigger in your service hooks. You need to define your service hooks. Okay, and how you define a service hook. If you want to integrate this particular code with, if you want to build your code with Jenkins, yes, you can actually do that. And so this is a service hook which I have, and I have pushed in my code in here. And for that, you need to configure this particular service hook, which can trigger a call to Jenkins and many other build deployment solutions. And I'll have this particular code checked on this particular code pushed, and I'll select the project and my branch and any members, and I'll click next, and I'll set up this trigger get build. Okay, and I need to give my Jenkins details. Okay, and the Jenkins details and the Jenkins user which you need to create. This is a custom user, or the user which you create after you create a Jenkins VM. Okay, Jenkins application on a Ubuntu VM. Okay, and this user is not the admin VM. Okay, for your kind information, and if you giving your admin information or admin user, that won't work. Okay, and you can test this particular connection how it is, how it's working. So using a Fabricam Git master, it would actually make this particular connection. Even you made a request and it got succeeded, which means that your this particular trigger is able to talk with your Jenkins machine, and then you can click finish. So I'll go to my history. I just pushed in my code, right? So my code was pushed into I just go to my code, and I'll just check my pushes, what happened to, or what are pushes have been done onto this particular master. I can see like Team Europe commit had come up, and after that this particular like my code with the Team Europe code as well onto the branch. Okay, so that particular change had come up, so it need to trigger a call to call at my this one trigger. So whenever you push a code, a trigger would happen at VSTS, which actually calls your Jenkins server. So you can see that succeeded just now. Okay, and request and the response happened 200. Okay, and you can see this particular Jenkins machine should have my recent changes. Yes, hash 41 job was created and it has my details. Test 12 VSTS Jenkins release pipeline detail. Okay, so you can see, I'll talk about Jenkins, how it is pushing onto. We have test 10, the Azure Web App which we created. Okay, first we're gonna talk about a Jenkins VM, how we gonna bring this particular Jenkins VM, how we gonna connect and configure everything, and then we'll know about how to create Azure Web App. Okay, and then we'll talk about. So what you need to do is like in order to get a simple way of getting a Jenkins machine is you go to a marketplace. Azure Marketplace, where you get I'll click Jenkins. Okay, I want a Jenkins master. Okay, which actually Jenkins master can do this particular deployments, the build stuff and the deployment stuff to web app. Okay, I just create this particular Jenkins. So this is actually a template which comes up. You need to give all the basic details. You can give your password, or if you're a hardcore Linux guy, then you can go with SSH public key, and you can create this particular SSH public key with on Windows using your putty generator, putty gen. Okay, it's a very lightweight tool which you can install. When you can click on generate, and you can move your cursor like this. It would generate a random key, a random public key, and a private key. Okay, so the public key, you can put that particular public key onto your Azure. Okay, and the private key, this is a public key. Okay, and you can take up this particular complete public key. Let's copy this particular complete public key. Okay, and I can save this particular public key and private key in my local as well, because I would require my private key which can be attached to this particular putty. Okay, so putty is this particular tool for SSH, and like you need to present a private key. Okay, So you can, for a public key. So that's how, like, without password you can work out with this one. So you can create a Jenkins machine. Okay, so basically it's a Ubuntu, Jenkins installed on Ubuntu. So the template, it's Azure template, which it comes up like that. Okay, the Jenkins release type also you can mention. So you will have this release type also installed onto this particular Ubuntu machine. So that's how you go and procure a Ubuntu machine. So once you procure a Ubuntu installed with Jenkins, that's the easiest way of getting a Jenkins rolling on. So you can click connect. Okay, so this is saying the SSH onto this. So I'll copy that and then I'll paste it onto my putty. Okay, and so I have one. I'll load. That's the same, and the port is 22, and I'll open. Okay, but before going to this, you need to actually open 8080 in order to, in order to access application which would be Jenkins application which would be hosted in this particular VM on your browser. You need to open this particular 8080 port. Okay, so for that you need to go to the networking tab, and once the networking tab loads up, you will need to add an inbound rule. Okay, when you click the default inbound rules, okay, it would add your port 8080. Okay, so you can click here and you can add port 8080 like that. Since I have already added, that's why it's showing like this particular ID. Okay, and I can mention the port 8080. Once I mention that port 8080, now the traffic can go into this particular VM, but still outbound is not possible via 8080 because we didn't describe any outbound rule for this particular VM. Okay, so once we have this particular port 8080 also enabled on this particular machine, we will go to the overview, and so this is a place where you can access, your application would be accessed. What you can do is, like, you can copy this, okay, and you just paste this particular URL. Okay, the URL which you will get is this one. Okay, and you need to have 8080 applied onto it so that you can open your Jenkins page. So the very first time when you open a Jenkins page, it will ask you about initial admin root password. Okay, so when you SSH, you need to actually do, I have discussed in my previous videos where I talked about Jenkins integration with VSTS. You can follow that particular video as well. Okay, once you have that, and you have embedded with port 8080. Okay, once you have done that, you actually create an initial admin password, and then you create a custom user as well. Okay, I created certain users like this. I have three users. One is Jenkins admin, and Jenkins user 2, and Jenkins user 1. Okay, so this is logged in with Jenkins user 2, who is creating this particular, who had created this particular job. Okay, and every user have different views as well. Okay, and once that is done, your Jenkins stuff is set up. You put it, like, you need to SSH before accessing this particular URL. Okay, once the URL comes, you can actually go to the main landing page would be this. You need to create a job. Okay, and you'll create a new item, and for this particular project, where you need to have a project in VSTS built up automatically and push that code into Web App, you go and select a freestyle project. Okay, and once you select that freestyle project, one particular freestyle project which I've created, so it would create a Jenkins job. Okay, so once you create that, you'll get this particular sort of configure page directly. You need to mention your project name. Okay, that's Jenkins build, and you need to take up this particular Git repo. You need to authenticate your Git repo. Okay, for the Git repo, when I say it, like the Git repo which is on VSTS. Okay, so this is my code. Yes. Okay, go to my code, Jenkins. Okay, I'll open up here, and then should I. So this is my code, and onto it I actually need to authenticate this particular VSTS account with my Jenkins machine. Okay, how to authenticate? They can be authenticated via token or something, right, or a user credentials. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I'll just go to my code, simple AUT, and I'll click on something on code, and then I click on clone. Okay, when I click on the clone, it will say that generate git credentials. So I have already created git credentials. Okay, so this particular git credentials you need to give, so that this particular username and the password. Okay, and you can create a part token as well instead of giving a password. Okay, and you can create a part token, and how you will create a personal access token is this way. And you go to the security token, and I've created certain part token, new part token, something like this. Okay, and you can create a part token specific to certain bills or something. Okay, you can mention them here, and then you just create save, and you can enable it for 1 year or something. Whatever token you've created, you can modify them. Yes, you can save it. But the pad token once displayed, it won't be displayed again. You need to delete it, and you need to so you need to have certain kind of secret store, or repository from where actually you can save these particular secrets, and then get them at whatever time with like in a safe manner. Like you can save this all pad tokens like that. Once you have that particular pad token, you can give instead of your username and password. Okay, and instead of your password, and you have username and password. Once you have them, you just go to your Jenkins, this one, you give the repository URL. So the repository URL is nothing but that's when I click clone, there's a URL. Okay, so it doesn't need to bother about that. And you need to add something like this. Go and add your credentials. So that's my username and credentials. I'll give my username and password, and done. So I have add, and after that you need to select. Say I have many credentials which I've added. You can add like this, and then select the credentials by which this particular repository can be authenticated. If it's not authenticated, it will give a red warning here. Okay, and you need to mention the branch from which this particular Jenkins would take or clone the code from your VSTS account, and then it will build your code. So I mean, most of the people doesn't mention this. You need to check on this build when a change is pushed to TFS or team service. Okay, once a build trigger, you mention that. Okay, so like whenever a change occurred in there, you'll get a trigger. Or even my GitHub, my Jenkins can make a peep onto it, and then get changes when a change occurs on particular TFS item. Even we have triggers enabled on from VSTS as well. And like you can have the most of the simplest way of creating or pushing your code, a successful build onto your web app is this way. Okay, you need to you need to add your credentials, your Azure credentials, in case you have an Azure account. And the Azure credentials would be like, you can go with the username and password. Okay, but I would love to go with Microsoft Azure Service Principal. So when I go with Azure Service Principal, it would ask me a certain few amount of details. Okay, so this particular Azure Service Principal would work on OAuth 2.0 token endpoint. So when I talk about OAuth 2.0, then it would be it would be sort of OpenID authentication with my Azure Active Directory. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I'll have an Azure Active Directory. So Active Directory which I've used is there's the Azure Guy AAD app. Okay, so I'll go and I'll just search for my Azure Guy AAD app, Azure Active Directory. So this is my Azure Active Directory B2C. Okay, B2C. So this app, the Azure Guy AD app I have. Okay, so this is a directory which I have, Azure Active Directory, and in this particular directory, this is a B2C directory. Okay, you can have a normal directory as well for this sort of work, and it's not completely converted B2C. You can see that I need to link a subscription to it, an active subscription for this, and you can do that. I'll talk about this in later sessions. And you just go to the applications. You can add an application. Okay, and in application you can mention like what kind of application you are developing. It's a web app or web API or native client or something. Okay, once you have this particular web apps, right, you can actually go to this particular web app, and every web app will give you an application ID and a key. Okay, key you need to create it. Okay, you'll create it, and when you need to generate a key and save it. This is also one time, you can see that. Okay, and if you want one more, you need to generate one more key. Okay, you need to take your application ID, which will act as a client ID, and by adding these particular details into your Jenkins machine, it would make sure that it can make an auth call to your Azure Active Directory. Okay, so I'll just click add my Jenkins credentials. Okay, it's pretty slow. I'll use my service principal. Okay, so I'll give my subscription id you can get from any of this place, from in your subscription, and then you will have your application ID, and you need to have a key. Copy them and go to here and give your client ID, which is application ID. Okay, and a client secret. Okay, and this particular thing is what token endpoint, so it would make a call to this particular tenant ID. So when I talk about tenant ID, it's nothing but my Azure Active Directory. Okay, this complete URL, I have to copy it. Okay, and so once you do that, you can see that like that will make a call to your graph endpoint for this application, and it will verify service principal. I have not added my client ID, so it would our subscription ID is missing. That's why it is throwing error. So, but once you add everything, like once you add and you select this particular thing which you have just added, the credentials, and it would display all of the details or whatever app which you have on this particular account. So you can see that I have numerous number of applications which are there in this particular subscription. Okay, so what is the best part is like I want to see an application which is an app, web app which I've created. Okay, so web app, Azure Web App is an app service feature itself. Okay, where you can host, it's sort of upgradation or second version of Azure websites. Okay, so I've created one particular web app like this. Okay, and I click add, and I just add a web app. Okay, it doesn't need more configurations, and you can deploy your code via kudu, everything. You can see this particular kudu stuff. You can have a performance test or load test on top of it. You can add extensions, each and everything, and you can actually go and have this particular deployment options where actually you can get your code from GitHub directly or something. But since our motive was to build a code, we build our code using Jenkins. Okay, so Jenkins is a sort of an external build machine which we have integrated with it. Okay, so for this we need to have a certain configuration like this. I'll select a resource group name and the app name. Okay, once I that, I just check on my apply button. Okay, then everything is done. Okay, so everything is set. You have your external build server, and you have that particular build server to be deploying into your Azure Web App as well. Okay, but why would one would go to having an external build machine? Okay, so the main reason for that is like with VSTS you have if you are using a free VSTS sort of credit, you get a very limited amount of build time. Okay, so you can see that you'll have something called as agent queues. Okay, you get for building your machine at a central repo by a central build machines, you need to have build machines defined. Okay, so whatever machines you can see that default hosted VS 2017 means this particular hosted agent is running with 2017 mm, version of OS on it, and then it would actually run your build your .NET application, and it would give out your results. You can see that a lot of many release pipeline which I have created, they failed. A few of them got succeeded. Okay, so that's how like you can have. But for this particular pipeline, what we did is like we actually integrated our build, like we defined a trigger service hook, right? So what this particular service hook would do is like we have service hook here. So service hook would do is like we actually, instead of calling the agent trigger git build, since I've selected Jenkins while I'm doing that, that's why it is showing that Jenkins stuff. Okay, so for this particular service hook, you need to go and create a new subscription. Okay, I opted for Jenkins. Okay, so when I select the Jenkins, it will take out me, what are the details which I've discussed by creating this particular trigger hook. The same thing you have, the with the app service I stored, a lot of different things are there you can try out. Okay, that's how you create a new service or subscription. Okay, so whenever code is checked in, it is not going and calling this particular default build agents which I have in this VSTS, because I get very limited amount of build time. Means I can build my code on this particular hosted agents for very limited amount of time, because I have not bought a enterprise version or license version of this enterprise version of this. Okay, so I can have something sort of local agents if you don't want to have your external agents like build agents like Jenkins to be set up. You can go and download an agent. Okay, so one such an agent which I have downloaded is the Windows agent. Okay, what you can do that, like this particular agent you can run in your local. Okay, for that you need to download that particular package file. Okay, and then you need to run this particular sort of commands in your bash or command line, and then you're done. Like whenever you click this particular run.cmd, okay, and you will have your local agent ready. Okay, so one particular thing is I've downloaded my agent into my local this particular laptop. Okay, and I've stored my local agent in some folders like this. I've stored in, I have tools, I have my build agent VSTS, I have agent installed in here. Okay, so what I can do is like you can see the status of my agent is offline. Okay, if you want to trigger a build by this particular local agent, what you can do is like after you install everything, your downloaded agent and install on your machine, what you can do, just go to the path and click CMD. It would go into your path, and you just click that run.cmd. so that's nothing but a file in here. Okay, so which triggers are called it would run a process in your local. Okay, which is this particular agent is running in local. Okay, and it would communicate with VSTS stating that yeah, I'm alive, I'm going to turn into green, and I'm ready for taking any of the build jobs which would be triggered to me. Okay, that's it. Like instead of you can have this pool of agents. That's what this manage pool says. Pool of agents where you have a combination of default VSTS agent, you have local agent, and now we have something called as Jenkins builds as well, build server as well. Okay, so this says yes, this turned green. You can see that my process is online, and you can see it's listening for jobs. If any jobs are there, it would be trigger running job release. It got some particular last release job line release stuff on top of it, so it's actually building that particular code. Okay, so that's what, like irrespective of developer teams are triggering a lot of jobs. Okay, you can have this particular build machine to run at night time or in fortnight every night, and then it would build your code and put into your central repo, the successful build into that central repo. Or if you have built some actions on top of it stating that push that code into particular web app or something, yeah, it will do that. So instead of using this particular local or something, we have just used Jenkins build server. Okay, so Jenkins is a third-party solutions, and which is available or well integrated with Azure right now. And as I talked about, like you can once you create a build or the build is succeeded, right? Last 41 is a build when we actually check in our code. Okay, that was our code which we have checked in and which had triggered service hook, and Jenkins had heard about that, and then it went and created a build hash 41. So you can check the build hash 41. What it did is like it had went and cloned your code into its workspace. Okay, and then what it do is like it build that particular complete code from your master branch, and then it actually took out your code and pushed into your Azure Web App, which you have given in your configure page of Jenkins. And then like I have one more like pipeline as well, which creates a release pipeline onto my VSTS account. Okay, so that's a one which is actually the Jenkins build would create a release pipeline which I have done. Okay, that's what this particular job which I've created recently with this particular local agent, right? It had ran that particular application. this particular, you can set up this release pipeline. I can show you that how my release pipeline would look. So my this particular release pipeline have something sort of like, instead of you publishing directly from Jenkins, if you want to create a release pipeline and push that particular code into Azure Web App, yes, you can do that. Okay, so for that, what you need to do is like you need to create a release pipeline, release definition. Okay, create a release definition, and you need to add this particular Jenkins build artifact. You need to select this particular manage endpoint. Like when you click this particular manage, so this is a Jenkins VM endpoint. Okay, so the Jenkins will make a call to trigger a release. Okay, release definition or a release, create a release pipeline. So for that, what you need to do, like you need to add a configuration about your Jenkins machine. So you'll get the Jenkins machine, you'll get the base URL. So the base URL is nothing but it's this particular URL with complete 880 till this 880. So that's your base URL, Jenkins base URL, because Jenkins is need to contact with this particular. It need to create a release pipeline, but for that it need to, Jenkins should have an read or write access to create it, right? So we give a write authentication like that by adding the particular Jenkins details in here and the user details. You can make a call to it, and on verify connection, like whether it's able to connect or not. Okay, and it should be able to connect because we saw that recent release pipeline was pushed up from Jenkins. Okay, so that's my Jenkins endpoint. Once you define your Jenkins endpoint, okay, you will have the populated into it. You can have your source job. So my job is nothing but my the job which I created, Jenkins build job. Okay, so Jenkins build job is this one only, right? This is job. This is my job, okay, which I call Jenkins build. Okay, so that's one only is my Jenkins build. And when I go to this particular service hooks back, and that's what like once I've added everything, those details, okay, I've added this and I'm done. And you can schedule this for fortnight as well, this work, and you need to have this particular auto deploy onto your web app. Okay, for this actually you need to do a little bit more stuff where you will actually have an agent, and this
Girish,
yeah,
uh, Girish,
yeah, just 5 minutes it will be done.
the display has gone and your voice is breaking.
Okay. Resume. So you need to add for this in order to deploy your via this release pipeline. If you want to deploy your successful build onto your web app, you can do that. You need to get this particular plugin, okay, and you can click this particular add a task, okay, and you can search for Azure App Service deploy sort of stuff, Azure App Service. Okay, and once you've done that, you have this particular App Service task which is assigned up here. Okay, so once that is done, you are good to you can configure this particular deploy Azure Web App Service from what is the app you want to put in is this one, and you need to manage and add your Azure subscription so it would authenticate with this particular VSTS as well. So once you add your subscription, your web app will also be displayed in here. You can select your web app out of this all web app, whatever you have. Okay, and it's not good. And you can, like, whenever Jenkins would trigger a build, and then it will trigger a call to create a release pipeline. A release pipeline would push your code into this. So the one particular way, like we had certain few issues while integrating with this particular solution where Jenkins is not giving up a proper artifact which my particular app service is expecting. Okay, so that's why you can see a lot of issues in here, and the errors which I'll be interested to show are, I'll go to history. So it's in my release pipeline. So I'll go and check in my release pipeline. I want to know the reason why it failed. The simple message is like no package sheriff no package found. Okay, it's not able to deploy. It was able to run on agent and it was able to download all the artifacts, but it was not able to find a proper package which it can deploy into Azure App Service. Okay, and that's why it failed. But what we did is like we used Jenkins inbuilt feature of deploy onto Azure Web App. So we deployed our changes onto Azure Web App, and ours is test well. So I'll just refresh it. This is Azure Web App, and I should be able to see my test well changes reflecting here. Yes, I can see that my both test 11 and test 12 changes are reflecting in here. Okay, that's what I wanted to discuss for here today. And like what we did is like we sort of have a build pipeline. Okay, we have a build pipeline created on VSTS, and we already also had sort of release pipeline as well, defined on our VSTS account. Okay.